Guys, I was making this video, this one here right now, and I was just doing a little edit because in this box right here, down here, the program I'm using lists, it just lists like what my computer stats are, so it doesn't really give you a description. But while I was doing that, I noticed that on my mic, there's a little switch, not a button, but a little switch. Indicating that my mic was off, so the whole entire time I'm explaining things, people watching this must think I'm an effing idiot because I'm just like pointing and with my mouse, and then it was bad. I am so sorry. I don't know how or why that happens, but going forward, I think every time I do one of these, I'm gonna have to check first. Alright, so obviously I can't go through that same dungeon again and go word for word, but I did put my build in here specifically, and if you watch this, I'm in pages, and I might mouse like over here or there and like kind of point to things and kind of like explain things, but there's no voice happening on that, so yeah, I do apologize. Okay, so Elder Scrolls Online, so in the North American server, and I was kind of going through my character. This here is my healer. I was explaining to people that this is in my faction anyway. I'm on DC. This is where we go. It's this is Falkreath, and no, wait. I don't think this is Falkreath. Oh, for God's sake! I don't even know what. Okay, so this is Stormhaven, and down here, like right here, is a place called Wayrest. And that's where I am, and this is the Undaunted Enclave, and this is where we go to pick up our quests from these people. And as you can see, I did one dungeon 17. No, wait, that was after I had to go through another dungeon again to get this one. But anyway, I was talking about my build and how I made it so, but because the mic was off, I'm just gonna go through it again. So this is my healer, and I'm gonna start with the skills first. So on my front bar, I am using I think it's Resto Staff. So you go down here, Restoration Staff. I'm using the Combat Prayer. Originally it's called the Blessing of Protection, but I morphed it to Combat Prayer, and pretty much what it does is when you slam your staff down to activate the blessing, you heal, and then your allies in front of you also heal for about 3,000 or more. But it says it also grants you Minor Berserk, Minor Resolve, Minor Ward, increasing you and your allies damage done by 8%. And physical resistance and spell resistance by 1300 for 8 seconds. I think I talked about this before, so one of my I'm just going to trail off for one moment. In one of my previous videos, you might have heard me say, oh, I want to switch out my Winter's Revenge for Caltrops, because I thought Caltrops was better. But then I noticed when I got into it, Caltrops, it only does like 400 damage, and I'm like, wait a minute, even if I kind of like leveled that up, that's kind of low. But then I remembered, if you go to your character sheet, okay, and go into attributes, your magicka abilities and stamina abilities will scale off what you pick in your attributes. So if you have more stamina, your stamina abilities are going to be stronger. If you have more magicka, your magicka abilities are going to be stronger. So that's why Caltrops for me isn't going to work. I mean, I could do like 1-and-1. I was thinking about maybe swapping my crystallized slab but there's a reason why I'm not, because I'm not a DPS on this character anyway. So if you go to your social tab and go to like groups, this is my role right here, healer. And sometimes you'll see people pick damage and tank to double Q dungeon finder, which is activity finder, dungeon, and then random, and then they pick something. But I don't do that. This is my healer. And my skills, so I use Resto Staff. You can find it in Resto for your combat prayer, and it's a really good healing ability. Then up here in your class skills, I'm using Healing Buds. Originally it was Healing Seed, but I use the Healing Buds for one particular reason, and I will show you why. So it says summon a field of flowers which blooms. After 6 seconds, heal you and your allies in the area of health. While the field grows, you could activate this ability again to cause it to instantly bloom. And that's one of the reasons why I picked it. So an allied within the field could also activate the harvest synergy and heal for 6,000 over 5 seconds. So basically what that means is there's two types of morphs from Healing Seed. There's one that does damage, and then one that heals. So for example, if you're doing PvP and you're facing a tank and he's kiting this tree to get out of line of sight, and it's like, it's really stupid how they do that. So, but if you were to take your Healing Seed and just surround the tree, if he was inside this, he's gonna take damage. The same thing with this one. That's why I also picked that, but I'll get to that in a moment. So I picked Budding Seed because it says right here, activate this ability again. So when I activate it, I can activate it again for instant heal. Okay, so that's why I use it for healing purposes anyway, or whatever. So that's Green Balance. You're gonna find that in Green Balance. And then Winter's Embrace, I use a couple. So my ultimate Permafrost, it produces like a storm around you, and it's not target based. This is the target. Okay, that's the target. Okay, but this one, it actually follows you. So like for example, if I pop it off, it's always around me, so it moves around me. So here's my skills. So Permafrost, it twists a violent storm around you, dealing about 2,000 frost damage, give or take. Depends on how much attribute you pumped into magic. Every 1 second for 8 seconds. So enemies around you, they're gonna reduce their movement speed by 70%, because obviously it's like really cold in there. And you and your allies will gain major protection, reduce your damage taken by 30%, and then it says damaging an enemy 3 times within the storm will stun them for 3 seconds. So basically that means they're gonna turn to ice and they'll be stunned. The next one is I use Winter's Revenge. That's icy shards that slam up out of the ground, and it deals about 900 frost damage every second for about 12 seconds. So it's a good dot damage over time. So reducing their movement speed of any enemy hit by 30%. So it's kind of like Caltrops too. You throw that down and their movement is slower. I use Arctic Blast. It's the Arctic Wind morph. Oh, I'm sorry, Winter's Revenge, back to that for a second. It's Impaling Shards, the original, but so I morphed it to Winter's Revenge. Don't ask me what the second one was, I forgot. So Arctic Wind, I morphed it to Arctic Blast because it envelops you in a wind and heals you for 13% of your maximum health. So if I have like 15,000 health, I'm not sure how much health I actually have. So I have 19,000 health. So that's gonna give me about 800 health, 6 or 700 health per second for 10 seconds, I think. And additionally 10% of your max. Okay, so it heals you 13% instantly, but then it gives you 10% over 10 seconds. The winds also freeze the enemies around you, dealing about 800 frost damage every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. So that too is a good dot. I use that in tandem with the Winter's Revenge. Crystallized Slab. So originally it was called Crystallized Shield. But I did the slab for a specific reason. So it says you spin a shield of ice around you, absorbing up to 29,000 damage from 3 projectiles. Each time you absorb a projectile, you restore 500 magicka and launch an icy bolt back at the enemy, dealing about 1900 frost damage. So basically what that means, if I have this on, those shields right there, they will violently explode off and slam into the enemy, the magic caster. So if I'm getting hit by a destro staff or an arrow, whatever it is, it's gonna violently burst out and slam right into the attacker. So I use that. Always upgrade all your passive abilities on your class skills. Make sure you have them, okay? And also your race. So I'm a Breton, of course, so I mean, maybe some of these don't mean much to you, but for a Breton, spell resist is very important, and magicka mastery is also very important. Okay, so that's my front bar, and so my back bar I'm gonna use. It's in your animal companions class line. And I don't use the Feral Guardian for one reason, and one reason only. I'm a healer, and having something that just comes at you and attacks people was kind of stupid. So I did not pick that one. I'll tell you what I did in a moment. So I use there's a skill called Swarm Morph, but I morphed it to Growing Swarm. So this one in particular does, it unleashes a swarm of bugs like Fetcher Flies and relentlessly attack the enemy, dealing about 9,000 damage over 10 seconds. When the ability ends, the Fetcher Flies infect up to about 6 new targets in the area. So basically what that means is, let me find a bug or something. Let me see if I can find something. So, there's usually always something down here. I think there's like a bug. Like a big bug. Okay, so let me get that. So, for example, this thing over here, this little beetle. If I like cast my Fetcher Fly thing, my Growing Swarm, it's gonna hit it and do about 1,000, almost 1,000 damage right away. Okay, so and it continues, and let's see if I can. How many seconds is that? Okay, so let's see. Oh shoot! I was kind of hoping I would get them to give you an example. Alright, so Alright, see how it affected these two dudes right there? That's what Fetcher Fly, that's what that morph does. So, just gonna come back here, because I don't want those bugs to, but that's the example of they were still behind me. Okay, so anyway, that's why I use the growing swarm, because it does pretty good damage, and it affects up to 6 enemies in the area, so it's very good if you're like fighting mob trash or something. So alright, so Bird of Prey, you saw me pop that off. It looks like that. What that does is, originally it's called Falcon Swiftness, alright, but I did the Bird of Prey morph because invoke the Spirit of Agility to gain Major Expedition, Major Endurance, and Minor Berserk. So what that means is it's going to increase your movement speed by 30%, so it makes you faster. Stamina recovery is increased by 20%, but I don't care about that because I don't use it much, very little. And then the damage done is increased by 8%. So as you've seen, there was another one that I was reviewing off my front bar. It increases your damage. I think it's the Resto Staff one, like when you slam your staff in the ground. So this is giving me extra damage, okay? And of course you want to open up the passives on that. So that's why I use Bird of Prey. So if I'm running, look how slow I am. But if I use this, then I can, you know, pretty much zip around and get out of the way and let the tank do what it needs to do. Back bar, so green balance, particular, that ultimate I use for, it was originally called Secluded Grove, but I morphed it to Healing Thicket, and I'll tell you why. This is a good one, okay? So swell a healing forest at the target location. Remember, on the ground, when you pop it off, it doesn't move. Instantly healing the most injured friendly ally for about 5,000 health. The forest continues to heal you and your allies in the area for about 1,800 every 1 second for 6 seconds. But here's the good part that I like about this. The healing over time will continue to heal you and or your allies for 4 seconds after leaving the forest. So basically what that means is, if you target, if you're in here, heals you instantly, but then if you leave it, if you leave the area, if you're in there, but then some reason you leave it for 4 seconds, that is still going to heal you. Okay. So that's Healing Thicket, that's why I use it. As for active abilities, I use Lotus Blossom, and this is a good one. Originally it's called Lotus Flower, but I did the Blossom because embrace Lotus Blessing, causing your light attacks to restore 1,500 health, and your fully charged attacks to restore 4,000 health to you and or a nearby ally for 20 seconds. This is a good one, and I'm going to tell you in a moment why. So while using this, you also gain Major Prophecy, increasing your spell crit by 2,000 for 20 seconds. So basically what that means is this is what it looks like. Okay, you might see somebody do like animation canceling, okay, or they might bar swap, kind of like that. So, but when you have this on and you're attacking, every time you hit that target, you're gonna heal. Every time you do a heavy attack, you're gonna heal. But not just you, your allies around you. So like if I can't get to them, like if I don't have this up, or if I'm not doing this and they're like over there where they are behind me, if I use this and I'm hitting my target, Okay, if I'm hitting my target, that guy over there, my teammates are gonna heal, regardless of where I'm pointing, okay? So I would recommend using that if you're a healer. So another good one is this one here originally was called Nature's Grasp. Okay, so but I morphed it to Nature's Embrace, and I'll tell you why. So you launch a vine to swing yourself to an ally, healing you and them for about 14,000 health over 10 seconds. But this is one of the reasons why I think I also did this. I'm not sure, but you gain 3 ultimate when the effect completes if you're in combat, and if you're doing dungeons, you're gonna be in combat. So, for example, this is what this looks like. See how he turns green, or him, or him. They're in range. So if I popped this off and zipped over to him, he's healing, I'm healing, and I'm gaining 3 ultimate at the same time. That thing that you just seen right there, that's part of my armor, so I'll get to that in a second. So I just want to make sure that I'm going through my skills first. So I covered most of those. Now I'm also using Bone Shield, and that's part of your Undaunted skill line. So if you come down here to Undaunted, originally it's called Bone Shield, but I did Bone Surge, and I'll tell you why. Yes, this is a stamina ability, and I'm sure I can get more of a benefit out of it if I were a stamina build, but I'm not. I'm a Magicka build, okay? So, in here I use this specifically for a good reason, and I will tell you why. So, surround yourself with a whirlwind of bones, gaining a damage shield that absorbs 30% of your max health. Now remember, I'm 19,000, so I'm gonna get at least 1,000 or 2,000 damage shield for me for 6 seconds. But an ally near you can activate the Spinal Surge synergy, which is very important. Always use this. Somebody's popping it off and you see a synergy effect, you press the button. Okay, so it grants the ally and 3 other friendlies, so 3 people are going to benefit from this, a shield. Target near them a damage shield that absorbs 100% of their max health for 6 seconds. So if you're 19,000, or even if you're a squishy and you're 15,000, you're getting a shield that's going to cover you for 6 seconds for all that damage that somebody's going to do to you. So if you're getting one-shotted with 15,000 health, well, I recommend doing something to get more health, because these days 15,000 or even 17 is kind of low. So always try to keep your health up above that mark, because there's a lot of things that can kill you fast. So and of course the passive abilities. I opened this up in that dungeon finder thing because I didn't know I needed to, because I don't look at these. Once I get what I want, I kind of like I don't look at it, but I opened this one up. So if you're using one of these, at least I recommend getting it. So but for this example, it increases your health, magic, and stamina 1% for the type of armor that you're using, so it gives you a choice of what kind: medium, light, heavy, and I'm getting a 2% bonus. I'm going to have to work on the Undaunted quest to actually kind of like upgrade, because I'm a level 7 right now. Assault, yeah, so I showed you this. It does very little damage, so I seen no point in making this as a second thought, so I'm pretty good. What else can I show you from here? So Breton skills. So I'm not on my main account, so all these craft things, yeah, I suck. I haven't been doing them because I already have a master crafter with all these kind of like good. Oh, okay. So, character, I showed you that. This is where I'm pumping my attributes, and I did show you this, the boon. So, specifically, I'm using the lady. I think there was one that increases your magica recovery, but it wasn't that good. So, and I'm always getting hit because sometimes the tank doesn't do what he needs to do, or she, and so I got the lady to increase my spell, and somebody's trying to duel me, my spell and physical resist by 2,000 or more. So I kind of got that. So I use the lady hatchling shell. Okay, so I was explaining this as well. So if I go to my inventory, I'm using a set called the Girdle of Hatchling's Shell, and basically what that does is if you have 5 pieces, you're gonna gain a damage shield that absorbs a little over 4,000 damage for 15 seconds, every 15 seconds. So you're always gonna see that blue donut ring around me for that. So that's giving me, I used to use, I went to, oh, what is it, Cryptive Hearts or something? Okay, so where I got this one from, if you go to Dungeon Finder specific, I am really sure that I got this from Darkshade 1 and 2. So this is where you find those drops, so you're gonna want to go there. It's the one where, like, if you do part 2, everyone knows you go through the door at the end of the boss and you find another boss in there. It's a big giant spider robot. It looks like that spider mount that they gave us, the dwarven thing. So but Darkshade 1 and 2, I mostly picked up all my my set from Darkshade 1. So, inventory. Okay, so, as you can see, I haven't had time to gold up this stuff because not a lot of it is like purple, but if you put it gold, you're gonna get a richer benefit. So, but for the enchantments, I definitely, the big pieces like the legs and the chest, you're gonna want to use Tristat. The head, Chokethorn, that was that little, let's see if I can get him out again. Hey, there he is. That little plant thing that was in between that guy's legs. Let's see if I can bring him out again. There, so that's my little Chokethorn that helps you. This is a 2-piece monster set. So like if you're doing Undaunted, you get the head from doing the dungeon. I'm not sure, don't ask me which dungeon right now, but there's plenty of things on the internet for you to do. Well, maybe I could kind of like take a quick peek at my Discord, but the shoulder, you get that from up here, like the Undaunted. So you do their quests and you get the key. Like for example, I did one, so I'm gonna get my key right now. So you can see I can't activate it because it says you need a key.
Were the stories true? Did you encounter an army of nightmarish Daedra? Or was the threat nothing more than scamps frolicking the wood?
Oh, I stepped into oblivion itself and slaved Bolgan the Night Flame and spit on his grave.
Oblivion? I didn't know the Elden Tree's roots went that deep. I hope you left something behind to let those twisted monsters know they aren't safe from the Undaunted.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip through this. So you get your key and another geode, which just basically takes up space in your inventory. But the key is gonna allow you to come up here and pick one of these chests, whatever you want, like Majal, Orglag, or however you pronounce it, and then Glirion or whatever. So I'm not sure if let me get into Discord. I think I have like a list of like where. Okay, I do. So like for example, if you're doing which one was that one again? Chokethorn. So like these, there's a like a picture on the internet somewhere that can give you like the name of. Okay, so here's Chokethorn. I got it in Elden Hollow. So if you do veteran, you're gonna find that piece in that dungeon, for example. So okay, so I went through skills. That's what I have for my healer. I showed you my attributes, my boon, and the inventory, what I'm using for, oh, weapons. I use, I think these are the, what is this? What is this staff? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Heartland. So, Heartland, I'm using this specifically because it gives you an additional 4% healing taken. So I heal 4% more every time I heal. And it also gives you maximum health, a little over 1,000. Heartland can be found if you go up to Cyrodiil. Let's see if I can find it now. There's these little three places. Okay, so this is Bruma, and this one here is Cropsford. They have these little siege merchants and specialized gear merchants up there. But if you go over here to Vlasteris, get that little notification off. If you go over here, this is where you're gonna find, and of course you have to flip the flag to whatever faction you're in. So if you're EP, you have to make this red. If you're AD, you don't have to worry right now because it's already yellow. But if you're DC, like me, then you have to travel all the way down and kind of, sorry about that, you have to flip all three flags to blue, which is kind of difficult if you're solo and you struggle a little bit because when you do one flag and go on to the next, if you take too long, that first flag is going to revert. It resets itself, so you want to hurry up and do it. So that's pretty much where I get Heartland gear. On my other tune, you guys know I use like Eagle Eye or whatever. You're gonna find that up here in Bruma. I'm not sure what stuff you might find in Cropsford because I really haven't traveled there that much. Usually because I don't go down there as much because EP, they like to Zerg, I mean a lot. So you're gonna find like a team of 20. Oh, and then another team of 20, and oh my god, another team of 20. So I pretty much, I don't go down there. I mean, if I do, it's like good luck to you and your family and all your ancestors because you will get mobbed. I don't know why they're like that, but they're like a locust, a bunch of bees up there. So anyway, that's what my skills, my gear, and oh look, I do have my microphone on, just checking. And oh, champion points. Okay, alright, so you want to see that too. Yeah, alright, so we'll do the champion points. So for example, and I know I should fix this later, because really none of what I'm working, this was all experimental and I was just using it, and so far it's been pretty good. So I'm not sure if I want to go ahead and redistribute any of these, but what I currently have is like on the tower, I think these are, this is the tower thieves influence. Is this like the thief section? And then and then these blue things there, the mage, and then on this side the orange is the warrior. So in the tower, lover, and shadow, I'm gonna start with that. Tower, I just put like 15 champion points into that one to reduce the cost of my sprint, even though I'm not a stamina build. Tenacity, so I'm using tenacity, arcanus, and healthy on the lover, and so this increases magic and stamina of your fully charged heavy attack, so I'm getting 14% back. 14% of your maximum attribute. Okay, so don't get that confused with whatever numbers that you're reading off of. This one, I should at some point, I'm gonna increase this, so I'm gonna probably take out of that because I'm not a stamina build. This is all experimental right now, but this is what I'm using. And healthy, so when I do take it out, I'll probably take that out and make these 100. And I think you get like 15% or 16, I'm not sure, 25% more, whatever. So this increases your magic recovery, health recovery, and then on the shadow I'm using 10 CP in my cost block, which is mundane because you see me play through those dungeons and I hardly ever block at all. I mean, I'm not a tank, so if you're a tank, use this. What are these called? These are the mages things. So this one is the apprentice. I'm using Elfborn to increase my crit damage and heal with magic abilities. I know 5% doesn't mean much, but sometimes it makes a bit of a difference. But again, experimental, and I'm going to change all these at a later time. I put 75 here. I actually do want 100 because it increases my healing done, which is perfect for a healer. The Atronach. Okay, so I put in Staff Expert because it increases my damage, light and heavy attacks with a Resto or Destro Stave, which is good because, again, I'm not a DPS, I'm a healer. But that said, oh, I think my food is ready, sorry. But that said, every damage done helps the team. This one's called the Ritual, and I'm gonna increase this. I know I am. So Thermitage, okay? So Thermitage is your dot. So if you have a dot on the ground, this is going to increase its effect. Like remember I was popping this off. Like if you did the one that poisons your enemy, even though it heals you, that's considered a dot. So yeah, you want to increase that to 100 regardless, especially if you're using ultimates usually damage over time. Okay, so for the warrior side, in the steed, I'm using Ironclad. Reduces your damage taken against direct attacks, increase your spell resist, and increase your crit resist. Now this is a percentage, but this is an actual number, so it's increasing the resistance by that amount. So if you go back into your character sheet, and so you can see it adds to this number here of actual, so this is your percentage, and down below this is where you're gonna find the actual numbers. So they don't give you a percentage, because a percentage of what? Okay, it's not a percentage of what, this is actually what you're being protected, your resistance. So where was I? Was I on this one? Yeah, okay, so but at some time I might change these. I might redo this whole thing to what I want for my healer is I want to do a lot of healing, so that's priority. And I'm going to want to shield because I don't block. And I'm going to want to increase my magic and yeah, I'll figure it out. So this one is the lady, and I'm using Elemental Defender and Thick Skinned. Thick Skinned helps you reduce the damage taken by a dot, like if you're standing in the middle of Eye of Storm. Or this one reduces damage taken from Flame, Frost, and Shock Magic attack. So if somebody's hitting you with an ice staff or a flame staff, this is going to reduce the damage. But in my experience, this really doesn't help you that much. So I'm probably going to take that out and pour it into something else. Like if you're using Bone Shield, you're absorbing the attack anyway, so why, I mean, if you don't have it, then maybe, but if you do, if you're using a shield, why pump this? Because it's a waste of numbers. You could increase something else. And then the Lord under the warrior is I'm using Quick Recovery. I think I can get 15% out of this, so increases your healing received by 14%, and of course you see I'm using 75 in there. And of course they give you passives too for each one. So for this one, when you resurrect somebody, your damage taken is reduced by 15. Infusion. Resurrect another player, you increase their magic or recovery by 8 seconds for about 400. And Revival, when you are resurrected by another player, you gain a damage shield that absorbs damage for 5 seconds. So basically that's why I have a Quick Recovery, because we're going to need this at rank 75. Oh, if you put, at one time on a different tune, I did put like something else here, and I opened up 120. So every time you drink a potion, you gain a damage shield. I mean, it's not much, but every bit helps. But then you're taking resources from another node. So, oh, that's the only one I have on this one. Ensnare. Synergy, you're gonna want to open that, so I always advise people to go into the Thief and the Lover to open up Synergy, so you can generate 2 ultimate every time you, so you want to, that's the goal of the game, you want to create ultimate so you can pop off your ultimate skill. So that's why I have that there. Plentiful Harvest, you gain double yield from nodes. Fortune Seeker, you get 50% from more from safe boxes and treasure chests. What is this one? Vengeance and Spell Precision and Foresight. So these are pretty good passives. For this one, it gives me Riposte. So when you block melee, you have 15% chance to deal physical damage to the enemy. And this can occur every 5 seconds, so block is key, I guess. Butcher, increase your damage done with light and heavy to enemies below 25% health. So you do an extra 5% damage. Thermocharge, so Opportunist and Perfect Strike, so increase your weapon crit. And so always open up this and you're automatically going to get these. This one, interrupt an enemy. Your next physical damage ability used within 7 seconds gives you an extra 15% additional damage. So you see how I was doing that block punch thing that they do, the interrupt an enemy? That's what this is good for. Invigorating bash. So when you bash, that's that block thing. You have a 20% chance to heal. So I'm healing and I'm causing more damage at the same time when I interrupt someone casting. Phase, I'm not sure what that is. It says when you use dodge roll, your physical and spell resist is increased by 600 points for 3 seconds. So that adds to the number when you dodge roll. Bulwark. That's a funny name, but it says if you have a shield or a frost staff equipped, which I do, your spell and physical resist is increased by 1500. So that this is always turned on because I have an ice staff on my back bar or frost staff. Yeah, so I guess that pretty much covers champion points, skills, and character and inventory of everything I'm using. Oh, pots. Yes, of course. No, one last thing we need to cover. So, I am using jugged rabbits and preserves, which gives you an increase to max health, magicka, and stamina. So it's a flat number. It doesn't give me like a generation to generate more max magicka or stamina recovery. It just gives me a flat number, which is what I like. And of course I'm just using your basic essence of magicka, and again, I don't use stamina much, so I can actually give these to another character or just sell it, because I get a lot anyway running dungeons. And of course I always sell these because I don't use it. I'm a healer, duh. But yeah, that's my build and what I was trying to explain in Dungeon Leisure episode 17. So I mean, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, feel free. You know what to do. You know how to do that. I'm not gonna hold your hand on everything. So and of course, you know, suggestions are welcome, because even though I've been playing this for years, I still feel like I'm new. Especially every time they come out with updated patches and all that. Yes, I am a tree. That's my roleplay thing while I'm doing a healer. So, alright, thank you everyone for tuning in. God bless. Have a happy weekend. And if you're watching this any other time other than me being live, then this is how it is. And yeah, it was interesting. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye now.